Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. That bit about Twilight time being when their world intersects with Link and friends must involve some particularly powerful Twilight like Midna communicating with folks through shadows, if only for mild childish pranks or whatever. Even these magically shady people must have rowdy teenagers. Despite everything needing to be done extremely quickly, one can't go top horsey speed while herding goats because Link doesn't want to accidentally jump this ranch's fence. The don't waste food guy knows these crops will regenerate in a few minutes at most. He's just very considerate of gluttons and doesn't want them all moody, even for a second. Beth mentions Link's stab technique involves flexing. It actually mostly consists of extending, which is sort of the opposite of that other thing. It takes more heart pieces to level up health this time around because the Twilight Realm invasion's magical pressure is rendering stamina supplementing sorcery sorta sucky. More goats are around the next day because some escaped ones were brought back, potentially only after they got wrestled down like what Link does. This new small town blade is specially requested as a gift by Hyrule's royal family because they heard rumors of the Master Sword being nearby and want to see if Ordon Smiths potentially took inspiration from it. If so, this would of course mean at least one villager could lead that hero they are seeking over there in the right direction. This particular mythical do-gooder incarnation is so in tune with animals that he would never injure them on purpose. Thus, he astral projects into any sufficiently harmed cuckoos to assure them everything was done on accident. Midna doesn't just want a sword and shield so Link can fight for himself. She also desires said stuff so there are more shadows constantly around him that can be used as hiding places. This monkey death hit causes an actual game over instead of that whole interest-warping small heart loss deal because a horrifying plant creature eats everything unfortunate enough to fall down there. There are plenty of things like that in this temple after all. The hero Shay teaches his finishing form first because he knew it'd be useful against this dungeon's boss, and like every following one too. Mr. Postman was saved from the Twilight when he overtook Hyrule because he was busy delivering that Ordon Sword requesting letter to its namesake village. There must be settlements near every light spirit because Hylians are at least subconsciously drawn to them and their potent protective powers. Everybody must just get an irresistible gut feeling that building permanent residences in such places lead to relatively safe lives. Light-stealing insects aren't in the graveyard because a certain Zora Queen spirit is driving them away from her family's sacred burial ground. Those Twilight Dark Beast bokoblins hanging around that table in the bar must have been regular patrons who recently got converted. Apparently, their old sit-around-and-drink instincts overpower their new seek-out-and-kill ones. That Goron doesn't consider rolling as an option to get past this fumarole because, like every other member of his species, he has worries about vision lacking while maneuvering in such ways. King Bulbin going after those Ordon kids all the time could be because Zant poorly described Midna's inform when placing a bounty on her. Mallow must have spent his whole time hiding from the Shadow Beast, making those self-advertising posters. Considering that this place has freaking electromagnets inside, it seems safe to say that the Goron mines contain some kind of air conditioning system which prevents non-rock people from combusting. Only question is whether it's at least somewhat magical or purely technological. Midna doesn't describe creatures' behavior/weaknesses like previous partners because she's not from the same dimension as Link and them. That fight with the hero's bow defender must have jostled some rocks loose, which led to these piranhas stumbling in and eating those tektites. Fused shadows must cause living hell for intelligent beings incapable of wielding their powers properly, probably as a way to defend their home realm from getting unconventionally self-destructed. Thus, the normally rock-solid Darbus winds up all almost incorporeal and whatnot. Considering that it's gray, white durable, not magical nor magnet-pulled, and doesn't really rust, the Ordon Sword might be made from platinum. That boulder barricade beyond Bridge of Eldin is of course there to signal Zant when and if somebody helped out the Gorons and made bombs readily available again. These scaffolding, dam, fence, whatever deals, which typically get found underwater, are usually used by the Zoras as home invasion defense/fishing outposts. Ghost Rutella almost definitely forced the current to take Link and Midna right in front of the Spirit Spring so they can clear out all unwanted guest-related hoopla from her people's beloved temple as soon as possible. The massive, light-eating insect who's all pissed after her babies get killed must have been stationed in Hyrule's largest region because it contained more delicious luminance than every other location. This Link can use any weapon or tool while riding a horse, even though a certain previous self couldn't, because he actually grew up with get that sweet ranch life, unlike the aforementioned hero, who simply swiftly first learned about handling steeds during his journeys. Arrows are all super expensive at the pre-Mallow buyout mart because archery is typically just a rich people hobby in Hyrule, kinda like it sorta is in real life. Also, apparently the well-off are taking plenty of demolition, too. This supplementary sack supplying stone sir stuck in that underwater rock may be someone who regularly assists Barnes with gathering materials for bomb manufacturing. The River Games part-time worker may not be granted full employment status because she keeps dropping those hard-earned rupees she's tasked with depositing at a bank. The Lakebed Temple isn't always filled with water because those torches are used for important ceremony stuff. That thing Zant put in Link, which made him become wolf-stuck, may be some magical item Ganon created to render him an easy target for slaying. He may have even wanted to eat the mystically heroic doggy in his dark beast form. Lanayru guiding Link and Midna towards Zelda, who could possibly solve both their problems, is because he feels really guilty about being forced to gravely harm the latter like that. Also, he must know what the Master Sword can do and how royal family people would be knowledgeable about it, because him and his spiritual siblings told them all about such stuff. This whole spiel about not knowing of danger until one has lived in the city must have arisen from incidents which involved Ganon's spies attacking Telma's crew. On a related note, these extra ropes and bridges present at the castle could have been installed while said group was mounting a princess rescue attempt. One more thing, this hardy try at royal reclaimment and its all-involved party's disappointing failure may have inspired Zelda to find out how magically adept people can possess folks like she does with Midna as a last resort for running away kinda deal. Anyway, Hyrule's beloved monarch getting all up in her fellow princess like that must have ceased whatever spell she was fueling to hold back a certain Ganon complete revival allowing ominous energy pyramid. Judging by the massive rupee stash in his pants, Giovanni must have been a highly successful stripper prior to being cursed. Said magical punishment was of course inflicted by those wretched poes because they absolutely loathed how the guy was so much sexier than them. Speaking of which, the aforementioned giggly ghoul's goneness during Twilight time must be because said sub-spirit shifting properties doesn't allow them to properly form from their usually adequate hatred pile. Ganon might have wanted to shove the Elden Bridge into his former desert home so it could get directly connected with every other Hyrule region once again. These particularly pissed foes present in the Arbiter's ground most likely got despised energy building up or unpleasant everlasting mortal coil cling activation because never being granted a vacation from their super high security prison watching duty really blew. Twilight Cloud deals getting cast over all of Hyrule could have very well been just an unintended side effect of Zant destroying this nifty little mirror doodad. The hero's shade calls his last few techniques life-threatening because he lost his eye during development. His existence upkeeping troubles would of course continue in full force from that point onward because making the remaining moves was really tricky with only half vision available. Oku's hiding so she doesn't get added as a soup ingredient. The gutsy gal's not cowering somewhere farther away though because she's quite hungry herself and wants to sneak in a taste whenever Sir Swell Sasquatch scoots off again. Those ingredients in chests that Yeto doesn't know about are a thing because Yeto forgot to tell him of recent grocery shopping trip she went on since sickness screwed with her noggin oh so much. Dirty chain balls are mundanely picked up instead of getting found all neatly stored in a fancy container because said thingy isn't some tribe-adored treasure or goddess test manufactured tool. It's just a decoration from this dude's house. Yetta knows Link's name while her husband apparently doesn't because she overheard Midna call him by it when they were conversing with each other after almost killing the poor woman. Russell won't leave Link to let him get all Grove-located solo because he told Telma there'd be visual confirmation of a safe departure. The delightful barkeep would have set this whole scenario up solely so the two could have a nice little heartwarming reunion. Shadow Beast almost definitely can't show up when the Master Sword is resting in his pedestal because of said blade's whole evil banishing action whatnot permeating all surrounding soil. Golden Gates not getting crushed by the ball and chain must be because they are made from magic metal which can only receive damage from fellow fantastic funkiness, such as a mystically piloted statue. The Temple of Time's massive remodel must have came about after Ganon's arrest so that Sacred Realm Gate could remain better hidden from invaders like him. This usually good doctor's giant tab most likely got racked up because he needed quite a bit of relief from dealing with folks seeking his services out following their recent bout with Twilight Invasion-sparked PTSD. Link won't destroy these poorly constructed wooden fences with his most massive tool because he's extremely worried about getting a splinter. It's okay when ridden boars do it because they can take the hit for him. Below bringing blue blocks being responsible for most floor-contained weight seems logical. The gold and white outer coating would be what provides that sweet anti-gravity magic. The Cave of Ordeals may have been placed in Gerudo Desert to help check if a prophesized born only once every 100 years male isn't corrupt. Hidden skills don't work perfectly against Dark Nuts. They seem to wield similar techniques too. Perhaps the chronology-concerned champion based most of his moves on theirs. These Wallmaster resembling creeps manufacturing must have involved the intent of retrieving a fleeing Midna. The things couldn't succeed in their original task because they are powered by those precious souls, which can't leave Twilight places. Merging light and shadow doesn't make darkness. However, both getting consumed would result in that. This is either a translation error or Zant is just bad with words. The dude's battle-wielded stature-changing magic must be for shifting to any size, not just growth. Hence, hitting him in the foot causes great concentration loss, which results in subsequent super shrinkage. This location-hopping battle doesn't involve a desert dungeon backdrop because Ganon hates where he was executed. Sky places not getting revisited must be because Zant doesn't enjoy heights. The Cave of Shadows would have been created to make sure this beast is truly divine. Money is its completion reward because only a light worlder like who is spoken in the Twilight's legend would have any use for it. Potions are most likely the exact same thing as straight chew jelly, just labeled differently for advertisement purposes. Drinking an entire bean isn't really something with mass market appeal. This single rupee found within that one chest in Secret Grave Royalty Grove is probably the only piece of currency a young ruling family member ever held before dying in infancy. The guard ghost must have been executed by Ganon in a way identical to how he himself was. This allowed them to experience enough spite to hang on his spirit. The fact that said unpleasant mega feelings came from wholly righteous and well-disciplined minds stopped full-on co-creation, though. By the way, only a Triforce wielder would have enough power to reconstruct a body with such emotional strength. Speaking of which, the Wisdom One must have brought Zelda's body back once it realized her spirit was still perfectly intact within Midna. Proudly people protecting powerful princess, of course, could do that light arrow something thing to stop Zant's initial castle raiding because he had trapped at least one sacred spirit by then. It was most likely Eldin, given how the Lanairu region clearly wasn't already consumed in cutscenes, and everybody saw Farone getting hit last during gameplay. Hyrule's most common King of Evil and his savagely silly, sinister subordinate seem to have a cycle of reviving each other going on with Triforce power and inherent tribal magic respectively. With the former's deal getting swiped away recently, that latter dude didn't find it worth it to bring his boss back when he himself could get resurrected in. Poland's Ordnance Shield doesn't have a design etched onto it yet because the little heroic dude wants to wait until he's trained/journeyed so much, and one special for him specifically that they come up with. Darker hair, plus possessing an opponent and seemingly knowing the original song, equals this link must be descended from Malin. Apparently, the MM version decided to go for it after his special time with Cremia in Termina. The weird variety of rupee colors and denominations present in some games most likely involves those delightful minutes getting really bored and using magic to redecorate Hyrule's currency. The Vessels of Light must normally be used as mystical artifacts in a ritual to give Farone, Lanairu, and Eldin new forms to utilize depending on what would suit their currently inhabited era best. This whole new wooded temple could very well be a Deku tree that has grown over the entirety of what was formerly Kokiri Forest. That Spirit of Winds fairy inside the Gale Boomerang might be one of those OOT-located Great Ones who moved into an item after getting fed up with Obelisk being lodged in front of her house or whatever. Shady Hero must have sought to learn how a sword-based energy blast could be regularly summoned at will after experiencing the fierce-eating mask's incredible power and getting curious about its all-inspiring maneuvers. Another reason Big Bad Boko Boss could have for going after the kids might be because this Ganon remembers how his execution was sparked by a little blonde child riding on him. This Goron guarding the hero's bow may have believed it wasn't a human weapon because a Hyrule returning Link told Darunia of his time with Darmani's mask, if he didn't just keep the transformation doodads outright and hang with every species for a little while as one of their own. After going through Majora's Mask events and learning almost twice as many songs total, the bad musician of time must have commissioned for magical botanist people to make those horse summoning plants and whatnot. Lanairu likes to take a very swimming comfortable form nowadays so he can extra enjoy no longer overseeing a dried up sand-stuffed sea. Midna's ancestors' beloved fused shadows must have been created by harnessing power contained within the shady bits generated by light from Hyrule's 3 creation goddesses. The heroic hunter may have learned how to stick around in ghost form by studying Ikana Canyon's patented skeleton zombie magic. The hero of time must have tasked Skull Kid with guarding his beloved master sword when he was nearing death because such a job demands somebody both incredibly him-trusted and fantastically forest familiar. It's not really that whole holy elemental aspect of the legendary blade that purges this evil wolf curse from Link, but rather Fee's record on her master's proper state. The divine prank, which granted Ganon his Triforce of power, might have been an inexperienced and terrified Zelda, grabbing said full legendary artifact due to paranoia about him getting it, like in those events Link told her about from his old timeline home. Oka things getting confused with Skyloft people must have arisen from said folks getting mixed up with evolved Loftwing offshoots that came about after after surface settling started up again following Skyward Sword's ending. The savior idea probably got so widespread because everyone's favorite timely hero started really getting involved with daily task assistance related stuff after Majora's Mask events. Also, this whole bit likely included him helping Hyrule's technology level reach terminus. The Iron Boots-like weightiness of drained magical armor is dozens, if not hundreds of minutes, pummeling Link for making them have to work substantially more, spreading so many rupees about. This Gate of Twilight could very well be an altered time one meant to propel people places where said stuff flows differently. Ganon's current, simple, sinister goal of blocking out light forever is because his extreme brush with death in a certain sword into chest involving fashion has left him much more demise-like than his typical self. That stupendously sized slab Ganon was tied to during his execution kinda resembles those obelisk deals one could lift while Golden Gauntlet whipped in Ocarina of Time. Perhaps such things serve as some sort of ceremonial death penalty area the Gerudo used, and their evil soul mail instinct spread them throughout the Hyrule he took over while going on his own officially mandated fatal revenge spree. The Howling Stones may be memorials for OOT's original sages, with Lake Hylia's representing Nabooru, since her desert home wasn't so regular Hyrule connected after a certain point, and Snow Peak's monument being for Rauru, because it's somewhere in owl form could comfortably reach. Also the process of elimination. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.